and I've always been one of those guys that have almost done a lot of great fucking things, you know?
Mm.
And I was just going through, but I said, but I've done a lot of cool fucking things. You know, I've always tried to, there's been a lot of things I haven't been able to do that I almost, got there. But the things that I have accomplished has been, I was like, you got to have balls to do this shit.
Yeah. That's an interesting thought process where you say, I've almost done a lot of things, and like I, I take that and I change it a little bit because I've done a lot of different things, and I've acquired a lot of different skills, and all of those things have just served me in the future. It wasn't so much that it was something that I was supposed to stay there. And then I'll go back to the thing that I took from Joel Osteen, where he said, grow where you're planted. And so for that season,
Yeah.
that garden where I was planted,
Yeah.
where I developed that skill, has just been something that I've carried on through life. And like we were talking about this, like with the kitchen, it was like, who knew that me helping my dad when I was 14 years old, coming home from school, rebuilding the basement, would serve me here, or doing the brakes on the car when I was a child would serve me with my wife. And it was like all these different things that I know how to do. And like, there's a lot. And it wasn't almost. It was like, okay, yeah, no, you learned the lesson for that season. I'll wait till it comes back and serves you again, or you can pass it on to somebody else that needs it. It was like, it wasn't almost. It was like, no, you just achieved what you needed to in that area. And I think people think of things as a failure when it's just the end of a certain journey.
For some reason, everything's a photo op, so we'll just take some video. So, F you, Milton. Yeah, tornado warnings suck. Enjoy. Alright, so this has been the first round of tornadoes, and it's been pretty crazy. We figured out that we had to kill a lot of the breakers to be able to, and this water's cold AF. Well, it's a tree that I cut down the other day, or the branch I cut off the tree because I didn't want it to fall on my truck. Good thing, because the rest of it fell. So, that's fucking nuts.
It was an interesting, fun time. I love hurricanes; they make me so happy. Um, so, but the roof blew off of the apartment complex that's like a block away. At like the first tornado, like the when I post after I posted that video with all the water in the backyard from like the torrential downpour we got. Yeah.
Yeah.
So at that time of day, it's like it had to have been 1 o'clock in the afternoon. The roof blew off of that, it killed the power to everybody else that wasn't on my block.
Oh my God.
And it was like, so this is what we're doing now. We still got 12 hours before this thing makes landfall. And I was just like, yeah, like this is stupid. But like the lights start flickering like early, and I was like, that's really weird. Like they would flicker, they'd go off and come back on, go off and come back on. And I was like, huh. So I just went outside and started killing breakers.
Well, I think that's the power company too. Like
Well, 'cause
testing their shit.
I think
Maybe
they're
there's
trying to,
testing.
when the roof of the building fell on the power lines, I think they were looking for where the fault was, and so I just started killing like our breakers and finding out what wasn't essential, and it stopped. And I was like, all right. And so we had power the whole time, outside of like I don't know, probably 10 minutes.
Wow.
So like, laying there watching TV, watching the news, getting the tornado alerts, go to the closet, sit down for like an hour, I'd be I say we'd sit down for an hour. My wife would be in the closet, and I'd be running around grabbing stuff in the house and like just doing bullshit. And, like looking out the windows.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, those if something's coming through that impact window, it's supposed to go through that impact window. Like,
Oh, dude, if it's crossing an impact,
so like whatever. Um, but yeah, no, it wasn't. We were legit just sitting there eating dinner, eating snacks, chilling. It's a little nerve wracking, like when everything starts and you see the tree that you trimmed, so it
yeah,
fall on your truck, and that's the other side of it just goes like first little bit. I was just like, all
I
right.
knew it. Yeah.
I was like, so that was a pretty good feeling. I said to the guy that I had come over and look at it. He was like, yeah, I agree. He's like, I think that one might be a problem. And then I sent him the picture. He's like, good fucking call. It was like,
Yep.
because that branch would have crushed my truck. So,
Oh,
but yeah, so we're here. We're good. We didn't have to evacuate. We didn't have any storm surge in our area. I did drive across the road to where that mansion is that I love. That's on
yeah.
my.
On the
So
bank.
yeah, that side, however, like the power lines are drooping, the power poles are sideways. There's water in the road. And I was just like,
Yeah, but that house probably has a generator or two.
well, so that house has made it through every storm surge that we've had, and like it seems to be inhabited still. The stuff that's a little further up the Caloosahatchee has not fared as well. So we'll see. Whatever. Yeah, they're actually a little bit further up as far as their property structure. Like they have a very large property that stretches all the way to the river, but that property is like a full city block. So the mansion's like in the middle of where everything is. So the water has to make it a pretty far away. I ever seen like pictures of pools that were popping out of the ground. There's videos like if you look at some of the tornadoes that were out by Okeechobee, there is
Oh yeah, dude. Yeah, 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 yeah.
look
The
like
tornadoes up here.
Twister.
Yo,
I was
yo. That video, that picture you sent me, and then we started getting pictures of tornadoes here in this area. Going, damn, dude, that was straight movie plot.
yeah. Well, because we were looking at the video one and they were driving and it looked like it was 100 yards wide. I was like, there's just no way that thing is that big. I was like, but I was like, we're looking from a distance and it looks that big. That's terrifying because things look smaller the further away you get from them, and they were at least a mile away, and I was like, that's at least 100 yards wide.
Yeah, it's a cine, cinematography, cinema. Fuck, what's that word?
Unknown.
Anyway,
What's what's a
movie,
study? Is it?
yeah, movie effects.
Oh, cinematography. Got you.
Cinematography. Thank you. You see, I'm I'm only halfway retarded.
Yeah, no, that's just nuts, man. I was like,
Oh my goodness.
yeah, no, it was when you start seeing the storm surge at like Fort Myers Beach, and it was probably 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and it's already underwater, and it's like they've been rebuilding for 2 years, and like it's already you already see it going bye bye. Just like damn, like that sucks. Uh,
Oh,
and like
you know,
luckily, like
we need
what's up?
no. It's just it's like destruction. Destruction is it's the best and only time to rebuild. You just have to make sure you're ready. And that's exactly what happens with our lives too. You know, like we fall and we gotta scrape our, dust ourselves off and keep moving forward. So
Yeah, yeah, but that's like when with our lives, it's like willful destruction. like we decide when we're ready to start doing something different. It doesn't happen without a choice. This is imposed, and that sucks. It's like when it's the will of an sentient that you just have
Yeah.
no control over. It's like, yeah, nope. You ever seen the movie Kingdom of Heaven, where they're always like, God wills it. Like that's what it's like. God wills it.
God wills it.
It's gone. Um, they would yell that every time they were making a poor decision. They'd be like, God wills it, because they always would claim that they were acting on the will of God. But like
Oh,
when like this stuff is happening and it's like being destroyed, it's like why? It's the will of God. It still sucks. Like what? But that's what makes people so angry with faith and religion, because they're like, why would he do that? Why would she do that? Why is it doing that? So it's very interesting thought when I'm thinking of God wills it, like, or just is, because rain falls on the just and unjust alike. So, but no, that still sucks. I'm mad because we literally just went to like the place where we had our first date on the beach like a couple weeks ago, and we sat down, we enjoyed ourselves, we had some drinks, we enjoyed our company. It was a really, really good day. It was raining, it was cloudy, it was ugly, and it was still an awesome day. And then it's probably gone again. We'll have to wait for them to rebuild it if they choose to rebuild it. So
what have you heard? How bad has it hit Tampa? Have you seen anything? Yeah, I really don't know anything. I have not. I'm
I
about
was
to pop open the laptop for first time and
yeah.
and Google it or see if there's any aftermath or anything like that, because I know for a fact that I got some good friends up there, and that hangar that I work out at sometimes out of St. Pete. That's probably true. So we
But
gotta
yeah,
see.
my buddy is in
Fucking
Brandon, is where he evacuated to from Tampa. But I think he was supposed to get um like 12 foot of storm surge at his house, so they had to go. So I just don't know. I just texted him this morning. He's like, it's finally quiet, and he's in Brandon. He's not even home yet. So
wow. Um, you aid my she, she kind of felt, I don't know what the word is. Maybe you can help me find it. So there's a family member that came here a couple of years back, and she traveled. She's a young girl too, and she went to every fucking she stayed at every house, like the time that she was here.
mhm.
And I'm gonna fast forward a year later. Uh she was gonna come up here again, and she called a couple people, hey, can I stay there? Nobody picked up the phone. And then she ended up going to Colorado, stayed with some friends in Colorado. Next thing you know, she's living in Orlando, and she's there right now currently. And I guess she's building a family now. She has a house, a home. She's pregnant. She's living with her boyfriend, whatever. But what I'm saying is that we know that she's in Orlando. We know that the mom is constantly going, oh my God, don't forget my daughter's up there, reach out. But this young girl did the best job in the world to close every single door of anybody that could possibly help her.
Really?
Dude, but you have to remember one thing. I used to only come home to sleep. Like, you know what I mean? I mean, that's my home was to sleep. After I changed the way I thought, I am enjoying my home a lot more with my wife. Right? Fair enough, kind of. So
Right.
so before I was always in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out. focusing on work or money or whatever it was. I knew that she never bothered me because I never dealt with her. It turns out that she would wake up at 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon going, so where are you guys taking me to lunch today?
Oh no.
Yo, I mean, she would make comments like this, like, this young lady she never cleaned the room that we gave her, never made the bed, would ask us to do her laundry. Like, hey, next time you do laundry, let me throw some stuff in there. You know what I mean? Like shit like that. And I'm like, I don't mind, but that's not right. That's your ass juice, not my ass juice. It's different. So I don't know. Maybe I'm just stupid or retarded, but after my wife told me everything, and she went to every house. Like after she was here, she went to another. No, everybody said the same thing. She went to a store one day. She called an aunt. Hey, can you take me to a store? I got to go buy some shoes or blah, blah, blah. Sure, no problem. Her aunt went to her, picked her up, took her to the store. She's looking at shoes. She picked out the shoes and she's going to go pay. And in the end, it's like, all right, are those the ones you want? She's like, yes, thank you. All right, cool. No, go ahead. And she's like, no, I need you to pay for them too. What? Wait a moment. Like shit like that. Like making people feel uncomfortable. You know what I mean? Like if it was like our obligation. So now that she's in distress, I guess you could say it, or that she could have been in distress in Orlando and so forth. Nobody reached out to her. Nobody called her. Nobody just straight up. Hey, God bless you. Peace out. Make sure you're okay.
That sucks.
It does. But that's why it's so important to make a good impression. You know what I mean? Don't be it's just
Like don't be an asshole.
don't be a dick. Yeah. A lot of little things. Maybe that was normal for her. I don't know. Maybe she has no clue. I told my wife, I was like, has anybody told her? And she's like, no. I'm like, it has to be. No, sometimes you have to tell people. I've learned one thing. My son will do anything I ask him to do, but he will never voluntarily do something. It's I was talking to his girl the other day, and I was like, I don't understand how come there's 5 fucking adults living in this house, right? And she's like, yeah, I see that now. I'm like, there's 5 adults, but there's only 2 adults to do all the fucking cleaning. And I gotta bring in a separate adult and pay that one twice a week. And the other 3 adults don't do shit. And she's looking at me like, I was like, listen, I know you guys have your life. It's cool. But just do me a favor. Tell your husband, and she's like, I think he'll do it if you tell him to do it. I said, that's not the point. I shouldn't have to fucking tell anybody to fucking do anything. We all live here. Why are you waiting for the dishes to be fucking stacked up? If I was like, just help me out. What happened there? Everything your screen, including, what are we sharing?
Yes, dude, I want to show you this.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's so I've been up for a while now, but I had was going patrolling the neighborhood, and this is the other side of right next to the river. And I was just like, I'm gonna have to turn around because there's no way.
Wow, dude. That's straight fucking, oh my gosh.
Yeah. So that's kind of what we're doing. Oh, yeah.
Hey, look at that guy. That guy's famous. Put him on the screen again. Put him.
You said put him on the screen again? That's funny.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
funny. Hey, so that's the asshole. That's the crackhead. That's crackhead Bob right there. That's crackhead Bob. Look at that. Look at that motherfucker going in my van. It's beautiful.
That's freaking weird. He's on YouTube right now. Like I legit put it on YouTube yesterday and tagged you in it. So a lot of people are.
I gotta see it. I gotta see it. That's fucking awesome. That's crackhead. Look at that. He's taking out my little. You know why he's pulling out the roll cart? He's taking out the roll cart because right there on the other side of the van that we can't see, he stacked everything there neatly. Neatly. Everything is on the other side. Just see it. This motherfucker, I promise you, he was taking that cart out and he was going to start loading it. Something happened right here that scared him away.
Oh my gosh.
Yep. Something happened right there that scared him away. And he didn't take anything, but maybe my wallet is probably in his pocket. Yep.
That you were able to get everything back.
That I got everything back. Yep. Everything.
I didn't know that I could do that until right now. I was just like,
that is so cool.
I can share from my phone into this meeting.
That's actually pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie. That is actually pretty cool.
But yeah, no. So, and my neighbor probably thought I was crazy too when I asked him if he was prepared. And I was like, okay. I was like, well, like it's supposed to be pretty bad. I was like, so when the power goes out, I'm going on patrol. And he's like, seriously? I was like, yeah. I was like, I'm gonna go through our neighborhood and make sure that people aren't burglarizing like the people that are kind of vulnerable right now. It's like you don't have to shoot people or anything like that, but you like just something as a little sound will. Cowards are cowards. Thieves are usually cowards. There's some
Thieves are usually cowards.
Yeah. But so like a little bit of confrontation. Like the guys were freaking. They were pulling down the shutters at 4 o'clock in the morning when I drove past one of the shops. And he's like, dude, he's like, we got to get back to work. And they're legit like hammer drill taking down the shutters. And I was like, good for you. Like shit. I thought I was the only person up. And the one dude was just out there barefoot helping his dad. I was like, all right. But that's, and then I was like, how many people are going to be like trying to get their stuff back together because the tornadoes were like, there was one probably on the path that I run when I run a 10K. Like if you come out the neighborhood, there's a 7-Eleven on Colonial, and gosh, it starts with, it's like De Leon, it's over this area. And the 7-Eleven like destroyed the awning over the gas pumps, the front of the building's ripped off, all that. There's a little tornado there. You go 2 blocks that way, there's another tornado that tore up somebody else's stuff. And if you go another block that way, there's another tornado touchdown on Moreno. And it's like, that doesn't happen. It's like Oklahoma is where you hear stuff. You don't hear that here. And so, like, because I walked the dog this morning, and you get to the end of our street where the school is, and then it's very evident that nobody has power, so all you hear is generators. And it's just like, dude, like this is
my wife, because of the aquarium I have, she's like, are we all set? I'm like, yeah, we got everything. I said, nothing's really gonna happen. This is before anything, right? She's like, nothing's really gonna happen. I said, but if you want, I can go have the generator, get it ready, get it ready for the aquarium. And she's like, yeah, let's just make sure everything is. I said, let me go get it to make sure everything is done. So I go to my van and I break out these 2 big 50-foot reels extensions. Because I can plug them both into my generator and then I'll run them to both sides of the house. Boom. And that's cool. And then there's a window right near, it's only about 5 feet away from, maybe 7 feet away from my aquarium. So I don't need a huge run for that. Right. So I said, okay, I can run it directly from the window. That way it stays outside and so forth. And so I set everything up and I made sure I had plenty of gas for it. Because I didn't even prepare for gas. I didn't do, just letting everybody know, I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything. In the beginning, I said, oh shit, this is going to be rough. We got to get ready.
At least you weren't supposed to be underwater. So it's just wind.
Right? Listen, it hasn't even rained.
So
It never even rained. Today is going to be one of the most beautiful days in historical South Florida. I can feel it.
that's what it's supposed to be like after a storm.
It is.
Bye.
The calm before and the calm after, right?
No, that's the best part. There was no calm before this time.
There was no calm before?
It rained for like 3 days.
Well, that's true. It rained here for a while and then it stopped. But I mean, so anyway, that's the only thing. That's the only thing. I got injured because my van is so full because we put a whole bunch of patio shit in the van. My father-in-law's barbecue. Remember, I borrowed it, his Weber. So I shoved it in my van. I didn't want anything to happen to it. God forbid. I got to buy an $800 fucking grill.
Not don't even get to keep it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's only like 8 years old, and that shit cost me $800.
That's how it goes.
Right? And so now you're like, fuck, dude, I broke it or it happened in my house. Dude, you have no idea how careful I got to be. I've learned to be very careful with other people's things because if I break my things, hey, guess what?
All right.
Fuck it. But if I've learned that if somebody breaks one of my tools or something, don't give it back to be broken. Go get a new one. That's why a lot of my tools are expensive anyways. Snap-ons and Matcos and shit, Now, even some of the cheap stuff is lifetime guarantee. So yeah, fuck you. Go get. So I'm the same way. So if I borrowed something and I break it, I gotta go replace it. I just didn't want to pay $800 for I think it's like a 10-year-old grill.
It's a Weber. It's Weber, man. Like, come on, they don't get any better than that.
Yeah, well, yeah. But anyway, so as I was setting everything up, one of the fucking reels fell right on my right foot, big toe.
What kind of shoes you have on?
Exactly. None. None, dude. Not even the sandals. Not even the sand. I think the sandals would have saved me where it hit. All right. I wasn't wearing shoes, and it just flopped over. And I remember going, no! And thinking to myself, non-shoed wearing fuck.
Yeah.
And then I saw my toe. With a position where it hit, I was like, if I were wearing the sandals, I think I would have been okay, because it hit me right where the leather strap would.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, I was like, fuck. But anyway, I didn't break my toe, nothing like that. I was just crippled for a little bit. And it was funny because Dolly's like, oh my God. Yeah, it hurt. It hurt. And that was just more of an ego thing than anything else because, here I am and I don't wear shoes. Yeah. I just thought that was funny.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty entertained, honestly. I'm not gonna lie. I had somebody give me some smoke about my footwear selection yesterday. They're like, Daniel, buy some water boots. I was like, the shoes that I have on are freaking trail shoes for one. They're made to run in mud and water for two. And three, what I do with the things I buy is none of your fucking business. So just mind your own. And then there's like the comments like, "You seem hangry right now." I was just playing. Like I didn't even respond to it. It's like just like, dude, like why? Like just like you should buy some work boots. Bitch, do you know how much my work boots cost? Like, yeah, I have work boots. They're expensive as fuck. Those water shoes or running shoes are expensive as fuck. I wear them for what I want to. Like, don't work, ruining your sneakers. Like, peanut gallery. Really, you don't know where they are because you don't do what I do. Like, shut up. So I'm like typing, and I'm just like, dude, just go to sleep. Like, you're tired. You've been up for 2 days. Like, don't just like, yeah, whatever. But it's people are so quick to comment on shit that's none of their fucking business. Sorry, man. I didn't mean to make you laugh that much.
I'm still back at peanut gallery.
I'm serious. Like, you're a spectator. Like, let's just chill. Like, let me do me.
Oh my God. Yes. When you said you're a spectator,
Yeah.
it just, when you said a spectator just now, yesterday I was thinking, remember I sent you a video saying, what if we're a non-player character, NPC?
Yeah.
We're fucking we are NPCs.
Everybody is an NPC. They are not directly influencing. They can't control anything in your life. And it's like, you take that same perspective and you just realize that you're just like kind of there for the ride in theirs. You probably might let some shit go that ain't none of your business. I don't know. Like, might be a good shift to actually think about. You trying to impose your will on everybody else? Like, yeah, nah, peanut gallery, hang out, enjoy the show. Okay, oh, that's stupid. No, okay, go out, do my own shit, or whatever. Like, you don't have to agree with everything. Yeah, no, I was listening to that yesterday, and I was like, Nestor's on one. All right, cool. Made perfect sense to me.
Yeah, it does. Anyway, so today's going to be, dude, you know how much, for the right people that were prepared, I the storm chasers, they know how much money, But here's the thing. There's also like, you can make a shitload of money because it's available. But at the same time, you're going to have to figure out, you also need to look at, humanitarians and people that you can actually help. You don't, there's a lot of people that get a bad rap right now, especially after a storm, for price gouging and so forth and blah, blah, blah. But when you can charge, use your instincts. I'm saying this in general. I know I've done it before in the past. I storm chased. I know the potential. I know the potential of making a very significant. You can make your year right now in these next 2 to 3 months.
Yeah, that's why there's signs everywhere for unlicensed contractors in Florida, because they come down here every storm and they make a killing, and they kind of take from the pool of those guys that are licensed. But some of those guys do good work honestly.
Even some of the licensed guys, they're hiring people left and right, and then
right,
they're getting the jobs.
They're subbing it out,
and they're subbing it out.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how I lost my money. Fucking. I didn't tell you my Crown roofing story. So back,
freaking Crown.
You know who that is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They've been around for a while too.
Yeah, they have. Yeah, they have. So, listen, the owner of Crown is a black man. I don't know his name. I was able to meet him once. I remember specifically, I had a stack. When I say I had a stack, I had a stack of work orders, dude. Like approved work orders, like here, how many squares did you do? Shit like that. Addresses, names, emails, phone numbers of homes, everything. I had a stack of it was a stack, dude. It was like this that I haven't been paid on. And I remember there's 20 almost 30 people living in a 3-bedroom apartment. You know what I mean? It's like we're hungry. Like we're there we're there to work. And it was my money, my credit. I was lucky to get it for $600. Just just very basically is I was covering everything. Guys are here to work, make your money. Just please don't rob me, type deal. Protect me, don't rob me. I got you covered. The rest, because you never know. Those guys, that's what they're there for. They're there for the number one. They're lone wolves. They'll participate in the pack when they have to, and then they'll just dip off. And so I found out who the main contractor had, who FEMA gave the contract to, and that was Crown Roofing. Okay. Crown Roofing. I went straight over there and we had an appointment with the guy, and he says, "Hey, how are you?" He goes, "Who hired you?" And I said the name of the company who hired me. And he goes through his list. Nope, not one of mine. And I was like, okay, what do you mean? So we were so far down the totem pole. Listen to this, dude. I was owed, my number that keeps popping up was like 35 grand, like $35,000 out of all these invoices. It all came down to like, I want to say like $7 a square foot or something like that. You know what I mean? It's just, and
it's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. It was a lot of work. It was a lot of houses. And because most of the houses, depending on what it is, you're doing an average of maybe 10 squares, so it's a lot of house. It's a lot of work. So anyway, with that being said, so I asked, and he's looking at me and he goes, "No." And then he made a phone call and he found out that the guy who had hired me wasn't even, he was also like third or fourth man off of the main list. So he hires 4 or 5 fucking main contract companies, and then they do the rest. Dude, we were so far down the list. Can you imagine how much money there is when I'm owed $35,000? Okay, and then I got to pay my guys. Well, I already paid my guys for their week's worth of work and stuff like that. But I'm just trying to recoup my fucking losses. But I'm trying to recoup that $35,000 for a lot of work. Can you imagine? That's the only thing I kept thinking is like, what's the real number? It's like $130 a square foot. You know what I mean? It's like when you do that math,
you're at 7,
and I'm at 7, right? And they owed me a considerable, what most people would say, it's a considerable fucking number, And I remember he was a very, very well dressed black man with a button down shirt, had the Crown Roofing logo, good looking older man. And on his left hand, he had a Rolex not a presidential. He had a Rolex Masterpiece on. A Rolex Masterpiece is, depending on the style, but you can say it's about $100,000.
No.
All right. I saw that watch. I looked at him and I'm like, initially at that moment in time, as soon as I saw him, I was like, this motherfucker is wearing my, he's wearing
my watch.
He's wearing, not my watch, but he's like, is like what he owes me with the money that I'm owed. It's
right
like,
there. I can get that.
I can get 4 times the amount, 3 times the amount with just his watch. So I felt confident and was good. Then afterwards, when he started explaining everything to me, and he basically told me I was SOL.
Yeah.
That's when I turned around and I went back to the guys and I was like, we're going to start doing outside work now. We're not doing any more FEMA contracts. When we stopped doing FEMA was because now we started doing outside work, and that's when we started making a little bit of money. That's when we started recuperating, because now we're dealing directly with the individuals that and if it was an insurance, a lot of these people in Galveston had no insurance, dude.
No.
Oh my gosh. House was paid off. Don't worry about anything. They had been paid off for 30, 40 years. And then next thing you know, all that shit blew up and they're like, oh my God, now what do we do? Those are hurt. Those are hurtful. But
Well, I mean, unless they had flood insurance, it doesn't even matter because it's like the catch-22 is like, yeah, be like me, pay for your homeowners. And then it's like, oh yeah, we're not covering that. I'm like, yeah, but the roof blew off, but yeah, that's water damage. But the water didn't cause the roof. Nah, it's not covered. So that's the dark side of insurance. Very, very dark side of insurance.
I have zero interest to renew anything. I have to renew a lot of shit right now. And I have zero interest to renew anything.
We renewed ours. Oh, we switched companies after we figured out that they weren't going to pay. So that takes effect on the 21st.
Yeah.
But they're dropping us anyway, so they're pulling out of Florida.
Yeah, that's true.
So
that was the fuck you progressive.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Very clearly. If you guys didn't see that episode, fuck progressive. Just so you guys know, and if you have them as your homeowners insurance,
run
and make sure that because they literally have a clause for everything that would play out if you have water damage in your home on a mold policy. So, yeah, I'd say fuck them anyways, because we pull our vehicles off of them in January, anyways.
I switch between Geico and Progressive every 6 months. Well, I started to. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm gonna go to Allstate next. I have to switch. Dude, I pay $1,200 a month, dude, for car insurance. For car insurance, you know what I mean? So
because they jacked our rates up too, and I was like, "You guys can't do better than this." Because that's when I was driving. What was it? A 2017 F1? No, 2007 F-150 that was paid off that we got for cash and was literally of no type of liability whatsoever for them to cover. Like they were literally covering if I hit somebody else's vehicle. And I think it was almost over $300 a month for liability coverage. And I was like, you guys have to explain this to me because this doesn't make sense. And she's like, that's the rate for that vehicle. I was like, no. I was like, you guys insure the driver. And she's like, no, that's the rate for that vehicle. And I was like, so you're trying to tell me that me with a perfect driving record, CDL holder, over 40 years old, that you're trying to tell me that you can't do anything, there's no discounts? She's like, no, there's no discounts. I was like, how is the liability coverage in Colorado $30 a month? And then you guys are charging me this rate here in Florida. And she was just like, that's the rate. And so when we bought the new truck, and the guy asked what we were paying, and he's like, man, let me get somebody for you. And the chick that I didn't know dealerships had a licensed insurance professional sitting there getting people insurance on the spot. But she legit got both of our vehicles covered with full coverage for less than we were paying for one. And yeah, so she's been getting a lot of referrals.
Good for her.
Yeah. And she was just like, yeah,
good for her.
She's like, this is stupid. I was just like, all right.
Dude, I have the agency and I have the capability of looking into it and doing it, but I don't give a shit.
Oh, you do PNC.
I don't want to do the work.
Do you do
I can do PNC.
Yeah.
I can do PNC. Yep. I'm set up to do all that shit. Although I have no idea how to even begin to quote because I've never looked into it. People will ask me, hey, you can hand me my car insurance? I probably could, but I don't want to.
I heard it's not really worth it to do a lot. You have to do a buttload of them to actually make any money.
Well, now that was the way it was before. Now, even with renewals, I mean, just think of it this way. You get some fucking schmuck like myself, for example. that pays $1,000 a month, right? Dude, you're looking at fucking 10%, $600. See what I'm saying? That's $600 for fucking. So you're gonna renew me. So for a good $50 a month. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, and like even thinking about that, it's like
Before it wasn't like that. Before you had to do $50 a month residual is very good money.
well, I was just thinking about the fact that like $300 a month for a liability policy, like that's what people are paying for life. Like some people are putting that into IULs and things like that. So like if the rates have increased that much, then yeah, no, it'd make a lot of sense for somebody to actually go after that stuff.
It's fucking stupid. It really is.
And
And
everybody has to have
you know what's happening here? I see it. I do. I see it. The system imploding so much. It's literally it's going to get to a point where if you're not holding at least $5 million in your account, like that you don't have to touch. I'm talking about $5 million that just sits there constantly. That's your daily average. In other words, that would be the next. You'll be considered rich afterwards. Up until then, dude,
struggling.
you're just broke dick. Yeah. You know, I mean, even oh god,
yeah, cash there. Don't matter.
They're hurting everybody. They're hurting the real estate. How is it possible that real estate prices are still up, but they're still trying to be falsely elevated?
Yeah.
You have huge companies buying multi-million-dollar homes, and people are renting them out. But or you can see that because I've seen it now in my neighborhood. You get these big houses, and you have true multifamily. Like there'll be like 3 heads of households living in that house. You know what I mean? 3 bedrooms, and then you have 3 different couples all participating. And they're coming here to fucking I know a family right down the street from us that they bought. I think it was 3 different couples. It's probably one family, but I'm just saying it's three different couples living in a 3-bedroom home. Because it is $1 million house. Maybe they just pulled in all together. So I don't know. I see that more and more happening now.
No. I know. That was something that the Tate brothers were talking about. Well, he was like, you guys do it wrong in America, and he was like, you come there in Romania.
Yeah, you kick. Listen, in America, you guys kick your fucking kids out at 18. We tell them stay, but you're gonna help.
Yeah, and that's what he was talking about. Like even he's like the family is like a business entity. And he's like, you have somebody that has a professional skill, so you have like a doctor, and then you'll have a dentist, and they'll buy one car
I need an attorney
they want, and they're like the household is the bank. And it's like, looking at that, it's like you wonder why you see so many Hispanic families where they've got so many people in the household. It's not because they have lazy people with them. It's because they're all pulling the resources. And that's how they're able to get ahead and own their stuff. Like the guy that lives next door, what is he? He's Cuban. And he's debt-free. Owns a couple houses. He owns this house right here. He owns a house over here. His daughter married some degenerates or whatever, but he's got another house that he put up in the back of the same property, and like he's just got freaking. I think some of the stuff's junk, but it doesn't change the fact that he's got like 4 vehicles, like a boat, 3 jet skis, RV, and he's got all these different things, and he's been debt free for who knows how long. And his wife just went to Puerto Rico to get her nursing license. And it's like, and the son and the daughter, the son just moved out probably a year ago, and the son bought his own property cash. And he's like,
Isn't that, yeah, that's pretty much similar to what I'm asking Sebastian and his girl to do, right? I said, hey, piggyback off of me for a while, pull your weight here whenever I ask. Because if I ask them for money, it's because I need it. Straight up. There's no questions asked. If I say, hey, I need you to cover the light bill, I need you to cover the fucking light bill. I never, other than that, and it doesn't happen every month.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen every month. I don't ask them for anything. They'll go to the store and they'll be like, hey, you need something? And I'll start thinking, bring me milk. Right? And even at the times that I've asked Sebastian to cover like the light bill, that's a good example. My light bill is $600-700 a month. So I asked, the times that I've asked them, stop. I know
that's about average, considering mine's like $315 last month. So yeah, you guys have more people.
Yeah, but the zone is different too, though.
I still think it's crap.
The zone, it's horrible.
Yeah.
But that's the other thing also. So it's like, okay, I'll still pay him back. You know what I mean? Like, hey, how much did I put on your credit card last month? I'll ask him, and he'll let me know. It's like $300-400 or whatever. And I'm like, oh, whatever the number is. And I'm like, all right, here it is. And he'll take it graciously, of course, because Dad used his money, his card. But sometimes he'll let me. I got this one. I'm like, oh, cool, all right, which is better for me too. So at least he sees the intentions behind everything, and if he wants to help, then he can help. I won't make him put him in a scenario where I want him to focus on himself first. Focus on your family, focus on your nucleus, focus on having the good foundation. What's a good foundation?
That's good. Something really, really good to teach. Like you're teaching them what he should know. That's freaking.
Listen, dude, I was not taught about good monetary habits.
Well, that's what I'm thinking about. Like I'm taking, I wasn't taught that stuff.
I wasn't taught about having good monetary habits. I wasn't taught about how to go out there and make money. I wasn't taught how to have, understandably, that nobody has the perfect marriage, but nobody taught me how I can have the perfect marriage. How it is possible to have, and that's one thing that I always do, and I'm sure, I know for a fact that you and I have discussed it. I know I even probably cried about it on camera. Was the fact of how, please use my mistakes to oversee, to escape. That's funny because the other day I was thinking about the first try at a podcast, I guess you could say, when I started recording, escaping the almost man, and I always thought the almost man was my dad. I remember, and actually it wasn't. I came to a realization that I am, or the almost man. I've always been one of those guys that have almost done a lot of great fucking things, and I was just going through, but I said, but I've done a lot of cool fucking things. I've always tried. There's been a lot of things I haven't been able to do that I almost, got there. But the things that I have accomplished I was like, you got to have balls to do this shit.
Yeah. That's an interesting thought process where you say, I've almost done a lot of things, and like I take that and I change it a little bit because I've done a lot of different things, and I've acquired a lot of different skills, and all of those things have just served me in the future. It wasn't so much that it was something that I was supposed to stay there, and then I'll go back to the thing that I took from Joel Osteen, where he said, grow where you're planted. And so for that season, that garden where I was planted, where I developed that skill, has just been something that I've carried on through life. And like we were talking about this, like with the kitchen. It was like, who knew that me helping my dad when I was 14 years old, coming home from school and rebuilding the basement, would serve me here, or doing the brakes on the car when I was a child would serve me with my wife. And it was like all these different things that I know how to do. And like, there's a lot. And it's, yeah, it wasn't almost. It was like, okay, yeah, no, you learned the lesson for that season. I'll wait till it comes back and serves you again, or you can pass it on to somebody else that needs it. It was like, it wasn't almost. It was like, no, you just achieved what you needed to in that area. And I think people think of things as a failure when it's just the end of a certain journey. And if you just understand that it's the end of that journey and that season, and that's why life insurance was, that was a hard one for me to actually walk away from, because, you know, I was like, I love that. And then I was like, yeah, I think we're done here. And it was like, you know, beating your head against the wall to try and make something happen. It was like, just give me a bigger hammer, I'll make it fit. It's like, okay. Well, it's like, but yeah, at the end of the day, there's things that you don't agree with that go against your own like code of ethics in the organization that you're in and the things that you really believe in. And you're constantly fighting there. It's like maybe you're trying to fight to hold on to something that's not supposed to be there anymore. Period. And it was like, you know, he's like, "Is your will to win for sale?" It's like, how much failure can you take until you give in? It's like, yeah, maybe it's just not failure. And that's what took me a long time to actually realize that I didn't fail at anything. That's exceptional there, but it was time to go for sure. And it's like, that's it. And I didn't make the money I wanted. So I see that as a failure, but still, it wasn't.
No, it wasn't. Yeah.
That's,
Oh man. What's that?
that's a long rant right there.
No, that's a very good one though.
I
I've had a couple of those.
mean, anybody that's tried anything and like actually went into it, it was like pushing hard for it. He definitely had it. There's so many people could probably relate to that, that were like, actually, it's like I'm gonna make this shit fucking work.
Here's the thing. So a long time ago, I was told to believe none of what I hear and half of what I see.
What are you talking about? We talked about that yesterday, actually.
I've said it quite a few times. Believe none of what you hear and half of what you see. Right? Is everything and anything can be manipulated. If you're not doing it yourself physically, it can be manipulated in any other aspects. There's I mean, we come back to it, and the older I get, the more I understand this. Because when I first heard that, I was in my 20s, and I'm looking at the guy go, "What the fuck are you talking about, dude? You're an idiot," you know. And now, the older I get, going, I was like, this guy had something going on. I said, I understand now, you know. And it's why? Because anything that stories are altered. It's really, really, really difficult for you to tell the same story and be 100% authentic based on like exactly what happened. Because you know what I mean? Thoughts change, perceptions change, and it's all about the perception.
You ever seen the Vantage Point?
Yes. Exactly.
Perfect example.
Yes. Yes. So everything has, you know, a 360 view. You know, it's a great example. Have you ever seen the guys playing pool, like at the pool hall, you know, whatever? And they'll look around, they'll walk around the fucking table like 8 times, dude, before. And you, in your mind, you're like, asshole, number fucking 5 in the corner pocket's your best shot. I mean, come on, I can see that. Yeah, but they're thinking 9, 10 moves ahead as they keep hitting. They're like, okay, I'm gonna put my cue ball is gonna land in this position. It's It's all what it is. And that's all we do. We literally don't do anything. Oh, I got to go to the bathroom. Why? Because I got to take a piss. Like, we don't do anything without a purpose. Everything in our lives has a specific fucking purpose. So based on that purpose, I don't know how much time we have. Based on that purpose, then we need to realize, okay, what?
That's funny. It's 6 or 5:59.
Yeah, it's just, you've noticed that one, right? Every single time we start talking about something interesting, it's like, shit, we got to go. But anyway, that's the only thing. It's taking full advantage of that moment, of that purpose, focusing on. See, I lost my chain of thought already. Too many squirrels. But anyway, what are you doing today?
I probably, honestly, I'm going to sleep until a little bit after sunrise because I'd pretty much been watching the news for the past 2 days. And like when I finally realized that we weren't going to get any storm surge and that it was just wind, and I was able to.
There's a huge opportunity out there right now for just local guys, people that go out there and help their neighbor. I'm not saying that you. I mean, I already know that you're doing it.
I already patrolled this morning, so notice I've been up for a while. So I walked the dog, and then I went and checked and cleared and see the streets were clear. And so if the streets are clear, the majority of houses are clear, and they're just dragging debris to the road. So I have to cut the stuff that fell in my front yard, and that'll probably take me all of 30 minutes. And then I'll start hitting my guys because I know I got one that lives right there. Or in Ian, I think they got right around 9 feet of storm surge. So I know they probably got water again. And I checked a couple other guys. I drove by their houses this morning at like 4. They're clear. So it'll probably end up with me going somewhere else and doing some service with a couple guys. I prepped the chainsaws already. So, but yeah, no, that's what I spent like the better part of a week after Ian just helping people. That's when I was more self-employed, so I didn't really set the appointments that week. And I just went out there and was chopping trees and helping little old ladies pull their debris out of the yard. Just like being a good human being. So
it's more fulfilling. It really is.
I don't know. I like money, but I mean, it's still, people need help from time to time. There's nothing wrong with not being a selfish prick for a little while. So
a little bit. I'll let you go get some sleep later, man. All right. Thanks. Bye.